Hello friends, and welcome to today's video. This is going to be the most unique video I've made as of this point on my channel because, hear me out, there's a little backstory, okay? So I love this YouTube channel, Smoky Glow. She has this series called The Evolution Of. It is a great series. I will link both her channel and the playlist for it in the description if you want to go watch them. But basically, she just picks usually a YouTuber and just goes through their entire history. And I love it. So I decided I want to do that with a K-pop group, and I decided to go with Astro for a couple reasons. One, they're my favorite group, but also I've been there since debut, so for a lot of the things, if you go on someone's Wikipedia page, you can read through it and you'll get a pretty good sense, but then there's the things that Wikipedia just doesn't know about, that the fans would know, but Wikipedia wouldn't know. And I've been an Astro stan since day one, so I know the things, I know the lore, so that's why I picked Astro. That's the quick version of that. So basically, as the title and my little description might suggest, we're just going to go through the entire history of Astro. I have a lot of props. I have right there, you can't see it, but it's right there, a giant stack of albums, because I have at least every version, pretty much, of every album Astro's ever released. So I have one of them in that stack. And it's going to be a moment. I have pictures. You're going to get a picture and an album for every era. I hope you're excited, because it took me a good 20 minutes to match it all up, because I don't actually have a picture from every era. So we're going to do that. But before I get into it, some little notes. First of all, I am not going to go through every single activity Astro's done. That sounds like a nightmare. I don't care about a lot of them. You probably don't care about a lot of them. We're going to go over the biggies and some stuff that I think is fun. But similarly, we're not going to do the members every single solo activity, because just doing Anu alone sounds like a nightmare. He probably has enough activities to do an 8-hour video on. So not going to do all the member solos either. But speaking of the length of videos, this is probably going to be my longest video ever. I have coffee to get me through this experience. I would recommend getting maybe a snack. I don't know. You can see how long the video is when it's done. Ideally, this won't be a nightmare because I film on my phone. I have a lot of pictures of my dog on my phone. If I have to delete any of them, I will scream. I will now insert a picture so you can see how cute he is. Tell me that's not the cutest dog you've ever seen in your entire life. You're lying if you say it's not. He literally leapt onto a desk to bask in the sunlight. He is the bestest boy in the entire world. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, we can actually get started. Okay, great. We're going to actually get started with the members. I brought out this little moonbin picture I have from All Night Era. It's actually a lyric poster, but I like the image of it, so it stays as a picture for me. But anyway, we're going to go in age order, so I can at least pretend to be unbiased, even though, as I'm sure you will know by the end of this video, I am a Moonbin stan. There's going to be a lot of Moonbin pictures in this video. If you are not okay with that, sucks to suck. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, first up we have Myungjun, aka MJ. He is the main vocal and the oldest member, obviously. He's also now a trot singer, which is an arc I didn't expect from him when I first got into Astro, but yeah, he's a trot singer. His little solo debut thing is a trot song with a middle schooler. It's a weird vibe, but we go with it. Also, personality-wise, this boy's loud as all fuck. This is a very loud boy. He is very nice. He's very funny in short enough bursts, but I watched a lot of Astro content, rewatched a lot of Astro content in preparation for this video, and he gets a little trifling after a while. I'll just put it that way. Next, we have Jinjin, aka Jinu. I will only be referring to him as Jinu from this point forward. I don't like his stage name, I'm sorry. But anyway, he is the leader, main rapper, and has stolen Moonbin's spot as main dancer, but we're not bitter, it's okay. We like Jinu in this house. But personality-wise for him, it's a mess. It is a complete mess. This man goes from being pure and soft to stripping on camera in a heartbeat. It's a wild time. If you're a Jinu stan, I don't know how you do it, but the kudos is to you. Also, fun fact, he is, as far as I am aware, I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure he's the only member with a tattoo, at least that we know of. He has a tiger on his chest, if you were wondering. I don't know if you care, but as someone who actually really likes tattoos and wants some, I think it's interesting to know what tattoos idols have. Another fun fact about Jinu that I forgot to mention, but is fully irrelevant to everything, I just think it's really funny. He was on Show Me the Money 5 and appears in the entire show for a second. There's this one clip of them doing this rap battle thing in the parking lot while they're all waiting to audition, way early in the show, and he's on screen for literally a second, and that's it, and I think it's really funny. Next, we have the member with more Instagram followers than the rest of Astro and also Astro's official accounts combined, and that is Sir Dongmin, aka Cha Anu. Don't feel bad if you didn't know his real name was Dongmin. No one calls him that. Like, literally, I follow at least like 40 Astro fan accounts. No one calls him that. One account calls him that. That's it. Anyway, though, personality-wise, nice guy. You don't really need to get an introduction for him. Odds are, if you know a singular fact about Astro, it is that he's in this group, and he is indeed in this group. I don't know if you realized. He is indeed in this group. But yeah, he's a very popular actor, gets shipped with Moonbin for reasons that baffle me, but also, funny story time. You ready? I hope you're ready. I saw Astro live in 2018, and I got a high touch thing. I have my little fan bracelet thing. Not fan bracelet, my like admission bracelet right here. But I had high touch, and I was wearing this exact shirt. It's why I'm wearing this shirt right now. I was wearing this shirt and like black pants, and that is conveniently what Astro was wearing at the time of high touch. So as I was going through, when I got to Anu, he was like, oh, we match. And that's it. That's my story. It's a funny story to me, and I wanted to share it. We now have Sir Moonbin. Moonbin is technically the main dancer. Don't worry about it. He is also the lead vocal, and he hosts Show Champion with Sana and Kangmin from Very Very. Personality-wise, I say this with love, the man is a whore. He is not debut era, but like more recently, he's been out here doing the most. We're not mad about it, but it's the case. Also, fun fact for him, he was a child actor and notably appeared in a very old TVXQ music video that I will link below with a timestamp to where he is. Be warned if you choose to watch the whole thing. It's a wild music video. I'll just put it that way. Not wild in the way you're thinking, but like, you are not ready to watch this music video if you haven't seen it before. So be warned, but it will be in the description. Next, we have Rocky, aka Minhyuk. He will only now be referred to as Minhyuk because I also hate his stage name. He is the other main dancer. He is a rapper. He's primarily a dancer. We don't talk about him really being a rapper because he's more of a dancer. Like, he's gone on dancing competition shows and stuff and done really well on most of them, I think. He's also been in like dancing special stages before. He's a dancer. Focus on the dancing part. Personality-wise, you would not know he has a personality from variety shows. I'm not even kidding. He's not super outgoing when they do promotions, so he really just comes across very bland. He's a lot better in their Astro original content stuff. Go watch that if you want to know what he's like. Don't judge him based off his variety show appearances, okay? Okay. Last but not least, we have Mr. Yoon Sana. He is the other host of Show Champion along with Moonbin and Kangmin, and he is the main vocal. He also, fun fact, was the first idol to debut with braces, probably because he was literally 15 years old when they debuted. But yeah, I don't know about you, I had braces at 15, so like, I guess if I debuted at 15, I would have had braces too. Love that for all of us. Personality-wise, Sana is an annoying little brother. We say it with love, it's a very much maknae trend, but yeah, maybe it's because I got into them when they debuted and he absolutely was like that annoying little brother debut era. But yeah, Sana is an annoying little brother. We love it, but it's true. Now that we have the members out of the way, we have a new picture also. I don't know if you noticed. New picture. But we have to talk about their pre-debut show to be continued. This show actually had a plot, first of all, which is weird for like pre-debut idol shows. I feel like most of the time it's basically just getting to know the members, and you do get that here, but not in the same way. Like, this show's plot was so dumb and so cliche, and I was so invested in it. You don't understand. I sent my friend probably 100+ texts an episode about this show because I was getting into Astro as I watched the show, and it was so stupid, but I was so invested, and I would say it was weird, but I watched Victon's show later this year of 2015, 2016, and that show is fucking nuts, so I can't call it to be continued weird. It's a time, though. Astro also did have another variety show called OK Ready, pre-debut show called OK Ready, and it was nothing standard. It's very much what you would expect a pre-debut show for an idol group to be. That's really it. I'm also gonna mention here, though, they have a fuck ton of behind-the-scenes content on their YouTube channel. Like, they have multiple playlists with a bunch of videos, like hundreds of videos. If you really want to, like, go watch them. It's a lot of content. Even I haven't seen all of them. So if you want to go watch it, if you're so inclined, you can. It's all on their YouTube channel. But be warned, it's a lot. We have now reached debut era, so I got my signed copy of their debut album. It is also the only copy that I have, but it's their debut album. I also got a new picture that you can't actually see because of the light that I now noticed. There we go. Isn't that better? It's so much better. Astro debuted on February 23rd with Spring Up. It was their debut mini album. It was the start of a little seasonal series they did. The title track was Hide and Seek. This song, it was bright, it was cute, it was fun. It's nothing special though. Like, it's very much a standard song, and their promotions this era were very much standard debut promotions. They were going on like ASC and the smaller variety shows, but not getting invited to like the big shows as of yet. Nothing of note really happened in this era either beyond debuting and being debuted and promoting their debut album. Like, it was standard debut promotions is basically my point. Astro would then return in 2016 with Summer Vibes, their second mini album and the next part in their little seasonal series. Its title track, Breathless, very much kept up the cutesy, fun concept. It also had a minor moment, like not a big moment where it was like crazy popular, but it did have like a little bit of a moment. Also, for some reason, I weirdly often see people still to this day call this Astro's debut album / song. And I don't know why. Less so with the album, but very often I see people be like, Breathless was Astro's debut. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. And it's weird to me because Hide and Seek isn't like an unknown, so whatever. People for some reason think Breathless is Astro's debut. I don't know why. Astro would also get their first invite to Weekly Idol during this era. They did not get to get their own episode, but they went with Kunakun and some girl group. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because whilst I was becoming a diehard Astro stan, my best friend was getting into Kunakun and becoming a diehard Kunakun stan. And basically, Astro and Kunakun had like a lot of content together. So we'd always watch the content and try and get the other person into our respective groups. She failed. I never got into Kunakun, but she did get into Astro, so hooray for me! Following this comeback, Astro would go on a little showcase tour moment. Personally, I don't really give a shit about tours that don't occur in my general vicinity, but I will mention it because it did occur. But also, they would go to KCON during the summer. It would be their first time at KCON. They would go to KCON many times. Get ready for it. But they go to KCON a lot. This was the first time, though. Also during the summer, it was Jin's little Show Me the Money arc. He flopped, if you were wondering, hence the reason he is literally on screen for approximately 1.5 seconds. The last thing that happened before we get to their next comeback is that Anu started hosting Music Core. This begins what I refer to as the Anu is more popular than the rest of them combined era. It's still going on, if you were wondering. That era has far from ended, but yeah, this is when it began. Also, he hosted with Kim Saeron, who was the female-only really character in To Be Continued, which I thought was really cute at the time. Following Astro's showcase tour, which for some reason isn't considered a real tour, they would release their third mini album, Autumn Story, with its title track, Confession. This song definitely kept up the same-ish vibes. It was less bright, probably because it's meant to go with the seasons for autumn. Autumn is less bright than spring and summer, but it was still bright, poppy, fun, the same kind of vibes. This song, though, it did not get as much hype and attention as Breathless, which isn't to say that they weren't, like, still gaining momentum and fans, but the momentum was definitely slowing down. And personally, I will say, I did kind of black out for this era. I don't really even listen to this album all that often. I only really do it when I do like a big Astro listen through, which is weird because I do like some of the songs on this album. But yeah, I blacked out for this era. I don't really know what happened. I'm sorry. To close out 2016, we're going to do a little retrospective. I'm going to do this at the end of all the years, so get ready for it. But I would say 2016 was a pretty important year in the history of Astro since they, debuted. They also very much, though, did have the same kind of sound for all the songs, which I don't love, but whatever. The public did seem to enjoy it, though. You see them start to gain more and more fans. They weren't, like, even popular yet, but they were starting to get there, which is good. And we can't really expect a group to immediately debut and be popular. We can't all be IVE. So yeah, 2016, pretty good year for Astro, I would say. Now on to 2017. Astro would start the year by releasing the fourth and final part of their seasonal series, Winter Dream. I know you can't see it. I've tried for like 5 minutes now to get the lighting where it's not glaring off the silver of the name. It's not going to happen, but this is Winter Dream. Oh, here. Winter Dream. You can see it better now. Anyway, they closed out the year with that. It was their fourth comeback in a year, so they didn't really promote it a ton, and no one really cared about it, so we're just going to move along. May of 2017, Astro returns with their fourth mini album, Dream Part 1. It was led with the title track, Baby. This is probably to this day Astro's most well-known song, and if not, it's definitely up there. I said that Breathless had like a minor moment. This song had a moment. Like, this song was actually popular to the point that they were nominated on music shows level popular. The song was very much a return to their more cutesy song, but it was less of a return. Like, it was still cute, but it definitely wasn't like full-blown hide-and-seek level cutesy, which I appreciated. This is still one of my favorite Astro title tracks. Fun fact, this is also my favorite Astro album. Fun fact. And it was their first #1 album on the Gaon charts, and I am 57% sure that when I saw that on Twitter, I actually cried. Summer 2017 saw Astro's first official solo concert and first official tour. For some reason that will continue to baffle me, the meet and greet tour didn't count as a tour, but whatever. Doesn't matter. It didn't come near me, so I still didn't care. But what did come near me is that Astro would return to KCON LA, and I actually went to KCON LA to see them, and then went out with friends for food, forgot about my meet and greet, so I still have the little pass from KCON LA. Fun fact round, whatever fun fact that is. But yeah, I still have the pass, completely forgot to see them. It's okay. I didn't feel the worst about it. I definitely was upset, but like, whatever. It's fine. I survived. Summer 2017 also saw the start of Anu being like a very, very popular actor, a phenomenon that has baffled me for the past 5 years. At the end of 2017, Astro released their 5th mini album, Dream Part 2, a follow-up to Dream Part 1, and it had the title track Crazy Sexy Cool. It was not a baby moment. It did nowhere near as well, but it was what I would call their first like 0% cutesy song. Not 0%, but predominantly non-cutesy song. And I'm totally here for it. I love this song. It is also, in my opinion, the era that Jinu and Minhyuk learned how to rap better, because their raps, they were never like horrible, but they definitely saw a massive improvement during this era, and I am unbelievably grateful. Time for our 2017 retrospective. So 2017 saw Astro's first real moment with a real popular and successful song with Baby, and then all of that disappearing the minute Crazy Sexy Cool came out. It was, at least to me, like, I remember seeing so many people getting into Astro during Baby era, and then no one talking about Crazy Sexy Cool, and it was probably the first time that that really happened for Astro, because from what I'd seen, again, people were getting into Astro and just staying into Astro. Baby definitely saw people get into Astro and then kind of just dip the minute Astro's Baby era was over. And it's okay. They weren't doing badly still. They were still gaining fans for sure. They were going on tour. They were having shit go down. It was a moment until actual shit went down that is less of a moment that we're going to talk about in about 30 seconds. So before we get into Astro in 2018, we need to have a little bit of context because it is very relevant to Astro's time in 2018. So Astro, if you didn't know, was signed under Fantagio, which is great. They're primarily an actor company. They're not really a music company. They pretty much only at this point have Astro, Weki and Sungwoo as their musical artists. And Sungwoo has released a singular album and Weki's been AWOL for a year. So, you know, I think you can get the vibes. Like, they're an actor-based company for sure. But in 2017, a Chinese company bought Fantagio, fired the former CEO, and replaced him with a new man who, fun fact, has since been arrested for fraud. He wasn't arrested when he was CEO, but, you know, I think you can get the vibes when a human being gets arrested for fraud. You probably would never have wanted them running your company. So yeah, as a result of this acquisition, though, and firing of the original CEO, who I'm pretty sure was the founder, I should have put that in my notes. But anyway, a lot of staff members and a lot of their actors left Fantagio, and this all really compounded by the fact that later in 2018, Fantagio was no longer considered a musical entertainment company by a legal standpoint, which, you know, add on to the fact that they lost a bunch of staff, basically meant Fantagio groups were kind of AWOL in 2018. If you look at Fantagio artists, you will see that they were really doing nothing in 2018. So Astro started 2018 with their first fan meet tour, which was also their first tour in the US in general. It is also the tour that I went to. And fun fact, it only had 4 shows, but every ticket sold out, so hooray, we love to see it. Another thing Astro did in early 2018 was go on that To You Sugar Man show. I don't know if you remember that era, but it was a show. And you might be confused why I'm mentioning it, because I've barely mentioned their appearances on variety shows. And that is because as part of this show, they released Shadow. That song is a hidden masterpiece. It is an absolute bop, and more people need to know about it. So this is my little PSA. Go listen to it. Then, in July of 2018, Astro would release their first special mini album, Rise Up, with its title track, Always You. This was definitely to date, and probably even still now, their least poppy release of all time, well, to date. But it was very little pop. It was definitely a lot darker, a lot more of a mature concept. They've literally said in interviews that it is their most mature album. I'm not going to call it super mature since, you know, Senna was still a whole 17, but it was definitely their most mature album to date. It was very unique. It was a lot darker, and they didn't promote it because, you know, Fantasia was going through it. Following the mini, since they didn't go on music shows, they just went back on tour. The tour didn't come near me, so again, didn't really care. And then following the tour, they literally just disappeared into thin air. All right, it's time for a 2018 retrospective because they literally did like nothing this year. So yeah, 2018, bit of a struggle year for Astro. Didn't help that they were AWOL for most of the year. The sole exception to this AWOLness was Anu. This is when Astro became Cha Anu's group. 2018 was when Anu was doing the most. He was acting in multiple things. He hosted a Dream concert, a Gaio, music core, was just getting very, very popular, and Astro basically just had to sit back and watch. There was really nothing they could do about it. The rest of them had like no promotions other than Anu. That is probably part of why they didn't have a lot of comebacks this year, but also, you know, Fantasia was going through it. So yeah, that was 2018. On to 2019. So 2019 began with the release of Astro's first full album, All Light, and their title track, All Night. Yes, I do get those mixed up to this day, if you were wondering. I will still call Astro's title track All Light instead of All Night, and the album All Night instead of All Light. Because you know what? What can you do about it? Anyway, this song, she didn't have a Baby level moment. Baby was still their most popular song at this time, but this was definitely their second most popular song. It got them their first win. I sobbed. It was just, they had a very good comeback with this. It was also their second, number one album. It sold very well. It was just an all-around moment. This comeback also had my favorite Moonbin look of all time, which is his pink hair. Pink-haired Moonbin was the best Moonbin. It's a fact. I'm sorry. I will not be taking other thoughts at this time because you're wrong. It was his best look. And speaking of Moonbin, this is when the Moonbin horror era began. I say it with love again. There's nothing wrong with it, but this is just definitely when he got a lot more comfortable showing more. He went from maybe going sleeveless to literally doing the absolute most during the promotions for this era. And I'm totally here for it. I'm not mad about it. I love that he's more comfortable with it. And it definitely goes with their more mature concepts because from this point forward, they're pretty much done with the baby pop. Like bubblegum pop is dead to Astro. They're doing more mature sounds from this point forward, which very much goes with the horror Moonbin era. And we love to see it. Whilst we're still on the topic of Moonbin, early 2019 also saw him in his first drama as an adult. He'd done some as a child when he was a child actor. But adult Moonbin was now doing things too in dramas, and we loved that. I didn't watch it. I don't know what happened in it, but I know he's in it. So following promotions for the album domestically, they went back on tour. They toured around Asia and the US to promote the album. I didn't see them on this tour. I don't think they came near me, so that's why I didn't see them. And by that, I mean they definitely didn't come near me. I would have dropped everything to see them. But yeah, they were back on tour. So after the tour, Astro would release their first Japanese album, Venus. This is a copy of Venus. I have 3. But this is also the only Japanese album I own a copy of. I don't plan on buying more if you were wondering. I need to save money. I pay rent now. But anyway, Japanese album. It was a pretty standard Japanese debut album. It had Japanese versions of their Korean songs. But this album has quite possibly my favorite Astro B-side of all time. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. I don't speak Japanese, but I will link it in the description. I am not underselling it when I tell you it is actually my favorite Astro song. Like, top 5 for sure. It is an absolute banger. This isn't an album review, so we're not going to go over it, but please go listen to it. Last thing for 2019, Astro would release their 6th mini album, Blue Flame. I will be perfectly honest, I ignored this comeback because Moonbin was on hiatus and I was bitter because he looked phenomenal in the music video, but whatever, we move. The title track, Blue Flame, is one of my favorite Astro titles of all time. It's probably, to this day, their darkest title track, and I loved it. It didn't do quite as well as All Night, but it still did do quite well. The album sold very well. It was just all around a good moment. So it's time for our 2019 retrospective. 2019 definitely saw some shifts from 2018 in the sense that Astro existed and promoted and did things. And we as a society should be eternally grateful. So 2019 saw a lot of changes just in terms of Astro's popularity also. They went from being a group that people kind of knew about but weren't really into to selling hundreds of thousands of albums every single year. Like, All Light sold so well physically, people were accusing Fantagio of faking sales. I have the vividest memories of this happening. No one seems to be talking about it anymore. Like, I couldn't even find anything about it, but I swear on my life it happened. So just, yeah, take my word for it. I know it's a trust me bro moment, but like, trust me. Also, Anu is continuing to act. I will not be mentioning it every time it happens, but just, it's a standard. Consider Anu to constantly be acting from this point forward. Okay, great. Let's move on. On to the 2020s. So, Astro started the year with the release of a special single album to commemorate their 4th anniversary. It is called One and Only. They promoted it for approximately 30 seconds. It's very much your standard fan song, and we're just gonna move on. It is also around this time that Moonbin and Sana started hosting Show Champion. Please keep in mind Moonbin and Sana being a duo. It is relevant for the future. Okay, great, thank you. May of 2020, Astro releases their 7th mini album, Gateway. It was led with the title track, Knock. It was an actual comeback that actually got promoted. And for Knock, they took the darker sound from Blue Flame, added in a little shot of pop, in a way that I don't really like, so this is probably still one of my least favorite Astro titles, just to be honest about it. But Society seemed to disagree. This song was very successful, big picture-wise, at least for Astro at the time. It got them a music show win, their 2nd ever win. The album topped the charts. It sold well. So clearly Society disagrees with me. Another thing to note that happened during this era was, to my recollection at least, really the first time that a full-fledged B-side got any real attention from people on Twitter, really. Like, people were paying attention to Puppy Love and Cat Eyes because they were both in To Be Continued, but since then, the B-sides on Astro albums, like, the diehard stans were still discussing, but most people on Twitter were just like, okay, cool, anyway, next. This time, though, while the titles were getting more attention still, we saw We Still getting a little bit of hype on Twitter, so just keep that in mind, too, because it also becomes relevant. So, for relatively obvious reasons, Astro didn't really go on tour following their May 2020 comeback, since summer 2020 was probably the worst time in most of human history to have a gathering. So instead of going on tour, they did an online concert and released their first digital single, No I Don't. Now, if you're confused why you don't know about this song, you are far from alone, because this is probably Astro's most completely forgotten about release. It did not have a music video, it had no promotions, but it is a pretty good song. If you like more chill styles from Astro, I would recommend this song. It's very chill, it's very cool, I just really like it, but it's not for everyone. No one seems to know about it, but I would recommend it. So while Astro would not release another album for the rest of 2020 as a full group, they would debut their first subunit with Moonbin and Sana. They debuted with the mini album In Out and the title track Bad Idea. This song is a banger for the record, and if you ever wanted a sexy concept from Astro, because they don't really do sexy concepts all that often, this is the song for you. This song pops off both in terms of sexiness and just as a song. It is amazing, and Moonbin was clearly living his best life. We love the horror era Moonbin arc. And yeah, the album did very well, big picture. They became the fastest music show win for a subunit, which we love for them. But more importantly, a lot happened with Sana for this era, and I want to talk about for a minute. So we're going to go on a little bit of a big picture detour. Okay, so for those who aren't aware, as the Maknae in Astro, Sana is basically expected to be cute and pure and a child for all of his life. This is something all Maknaes deal with. Some of them have talked about it before, but it's just a thing. It's usually fine debut era because you're a child, so you don't care that you're being viewed as a child. Like, Sana was 15 when Astro debuted, and he didn't really care that people saw him as 15 because he was 15. But as time goes on, a lot of Maknaes want to be viewed out of this. And a great example of this that I'm going to use is Taemin, because I'm also a diehard Shiny stan. And so Taemin, when he debuted, was basically one evolutionary stage above a zygote, and by the time he was debuting, it was fine that people viewed him as a child because he was, again, a child. But as Taemin got older, he was ready to be viewed as an adult, and for Taemin, what that shift came with was Danger era when he debuted with Ace, because Danger was darker, it was a lot more mature, and given the fact that Taemin was in his 20s when Danger came out, it makes sense he'd not want his solo debut to be a basically child song. Sana, Bad Idea, basically same concept. Sana during Bad Idea era was 20 years old. He was no longer the 15-year-old that had debuted with Astro. He was an adult and was ready to be viewed as an adult. And Bad Idea, with its sexier concept and darker concept, definitely helped a lot of the fans view him as an adult. To me, in my brain, when I think about Sana, I do still think about debut era Sana. That's just who I think about. But at the same time, like, if I see Sana in active promotions, I don't think about him as a child. I think about him as someone in his 20s because that's what he is. But people on Twitter weren't really seeing him that way until Bad Idea. That's basically my point. Bad Idea helped Sana break out of his child maknae image. So, following Moonbin and Sana's promotions, Astro did what I'm like 90% sure is their first full-fledged reality show post-debut era, which is something along the lines of 1001 Nights with Astro. I've seen a lot of different translations of the name, but it's something like that. The show itself has no English subs that I could find. I remember watching it when it came out, so I don't know what happened, but for some reason I could only find Thai subs. So if you speak Thai or Korean and want to translate for us English speakers, I'd be forever grateful. I did find some teasers for it, and the first episode seems to be like wild. They look like they're slaves to this man, a la 1001 Nights. But then it seems to go to a normal variety show type thing, reality show thing. So, I don't know. I don't speak Thai. I don't speak Korean. I don't remember what happens in the show. I don't know what to tell you. So, closing out 2020, Astro released a special fan song, which was a remake of We Still. Yes, that's why I brought up We Still and told you to remember it. They released it as a special fan song. It's basically the same thing, just a piano version, but it has an adorable music video where they're all in this like Zoom style thing. It could just be Zoom. I don't know. I don't remember. But it's basically that. It's just adorable. And frankly, I think this is a great way to do fan songs just because they took a song that the fans already liked and turned it into a fan song instead of just releasing a boring fan song. I want more groups to basically do fan songs this way. That is my point. So time for our 2020 retrospective. 2020 was definitely not a great year for the music industry since most musical industry money comes from touring, really, and tours weren't really happening, and a lot of groups weren't really doing anything in 2020. Astro, however, was a big exception. Like, Astro was booked and busy. You had members acting, with both Anu and Moonbin acting in dramas. Myungjun was in his musical thing, and he was in a little trot group. You had Moonbin and Sana emceeing. You just had endless opportunities to see Astro members if that's what you wanted to do. And that's a big step up from a lot of other groups during 2020, since it's not really a hot take to say that like a lot of groups weren't really doing a lot in 2020. Astro, on the other hand, was. Basically, Astro was somehow surviving a pandemic whilst still being booked and busy, and I am very impressed since there were groups that like I stan with all my heart and soul that were doing nothing in 2020 because they didn't know how to cope with not being able to go on tour. Astro was able to survive that, and I love that. The first thing that I want to mention for 2021 is actually going to be about Jinu. Jinu started 2021 off with a podcast with Pentagon's Kino. I've never watched any of it, so I don't actually know the vibes, but it seems chill. Like, they're friends. It's probably a good vibes. I don't know what happens in it, but I did want to mention it because I feel like Jinu has been like unbelievably absent. The only thing I mentioned him doing is flopping on Show Me the Money, so I feel like I needed to correct that a little bit. The next time we really saw Astro in a way that I want to talk about is when they came back with their second full album, All Yours. This album went off, like fully went off. I'm gonna use album sales as a little bit of a retrospective, not retrospective, a metric, I mean. Astro, prior to this comeback, their best-selling album was their first full, All Light, which sold about 125,000-ish copies. All Yours sold 360,000. Bit of a leap. It also produced their highest charting song by a lot. On the Gaon charts, Astro's previous highest charting song was like well below 100. One peaked at number 17. Bit of a jump. We love to see it. They also started doing better on music shows. This comeback was just all around vast improvements for Astro. Although the title track 1 is my least favorite Astro title track. I will admit that. Not a big fan of this song. But it's also my video and I don't want to talk about it, so we're going to move along. Summer of 2021, Astro did another reality show, this one called Astro Zone. It was a lot more of your standard reality show. I can't speak to what the last one was since, as stated, couldn't find the subs, but I did rewatch some episodes of this one because I could find subs, and it's your standard show. It's very much that fake casual dynamic. If you don't want to watch the behind the scenes content and you want to watch something more structured, this is for you. And yes, I did say fake casual if you were wondering. If you think any reality show is actually showing how these groups act, I envy you for not being as jaded and cynical as I am. On to August of 2021, when Astro released their 8th mini album, Switch On, and its title track, After Midnight. This song is scream summer. It is everything you want a summer track to be, and it was just very popular in general. The album sold over 300,000 copies. It was certified platinum, along with All Yours. I forgot to mention that. They were both certified platinum. It also saw After Midnight peak at number 4 on the album charts. I was losing my mind when I found this out because there are groups that you would expect to have had a top 5 given the fact that Astro's had one who haven't. And Astro has, and I love that so much for them. I also love the song. It's so fun. It's such a bop. It's a great song, and I loved it. In September, Astro released a single, Alive, for that fandom platform Universe. Like, you know, the platform that everyone's been releasing singles for pretty much for the past 2 years. Astro did one of those. Just like every other single for that platform, no one gave a shit, so we're just gonna move along. To close out 2021, we have our first solo debut, which is Myungjoon. He did a trot song with a child. I don't listen to it, I don't engage with it, and we're gonna just keep going. Time for the 2021 retrospective. So 2021, Astro popped off. They weren't not popular beforehand, but they saw a huge surge in popularity for this year. They had 2 very successful comebacks, a really fun variety show. They didn't do as much as they had done in 2020, it's true, but what they did do, they were very successful with. And just as a whole, they had a phenomenal year. Into 2022 we go, and we start off with the debut of Astro's second subunit, Jinwoo and Minhyuk, aka Jinjin and Rocky. But they debuted with the mini album Restore on my birthday, in fact, and I love that for me. I consider it a special birthday present. But the comeback, it did well, but it didn't do quite as well as Moonbin and Sana's unit debut had done. To be fair, there were 5 billion comebacks in January of 2022, so they did have a lot more competition, but it still did well, and we still love to see it. Astro would also do another variety show in early 2022 with Astro Hostel. This is a show where basically Moonbin, Sana, and Jinwoo run a hostel type thing, but have to hide from the guests. It's weird. I did just rewatch it, so I do remember what happens a lot better. But yeah, it's pretty mid if you ask me, but if you do want to find some very wholesome content, find any clip of the members talking to animals. It is adorable, especially in the earlier episodes. They have a good bit of it. It's so pure, and I loved it. On to March of 2022, when Moonbin and Sana would release their second mini album, Refuge. This album kept up the darker vibes from their first mini album, and also it just sold way better, like more than double what In Out had sold. But in my opinion, it's a bit of a decline. I don't like this album as much as I like their debut album, but whatever, it still did really well, and I love to see them succeed. We have now reached present day. So Astro has announced that on May 16th, they will be releasing their 3rd full album. However, Myungjoon will actually not be there to promote it. He is enlisting the week before. He is the first member to enlist and is enlisting on May 9th. But given the fact he wrote 2 of the songs, and obviously the album isn't being released the day it's recorded, they've obviously probably finished it by now, I would assume he's going to be in the album, just not in promotions. Similarly, Jinwoo is technically still on hiatus, but I very much believe he too will be promoting. I could be wrong, maybe we'll get a 4-member promotional period, who knows. But presumably he'll be back, we'll have to just wait and see though. I've also heard some rumors that every member gets a solo for this album, which I am very, very hyped for, specifically for Moonbin's. Like, I'm hyped for all of them, but I do have my priorities. Final item of note for this video is that Astro has announced that at the end of May, they will also be holding another concert. It will be their first in-person concert in many, many years, like a lot of people probably. But yeah, they're holding a concert and decided to be a bitch and split the solos into 2 days. So I'm obviously not going. I'm not flying across the entire planet to go to an Astro concert. But if I were to do that, I'd be kind of pissed that I would have to buy tickets for those days if I wanted to see all the solos. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. Anyway, yeah, that is the entire career history of Astro, at least the important stuff, up until the modern day. I'm filming this on April 30th. So yeah, up until now, that's pretty much everything important that's happened. I hope you liked this video. It was actually really fun to make. I love these evolution of videos that Smoky Glow does. I've always wanted to make one for myself. I just didn't really think I could do it. But now I know I can. It only took me about 2 hours to film this, so hooray for me spending much of my Saturday doing that. But it was actually really fun. I did really like it. I hope you liked it too. Please comment what you thought of it, anything you think I missed that I should have mentioned, your favorite Astro song, anything you want really. Comment anything you want. You can also like and subscribe if you want to. If this video does well enough, I will probably do more for more groups. If it doesn't do well, I still might, just because again, I had a lot of fun doing it. But yeah, you can like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter at @s_album reviews. I will link that in the description. I will also put just a bunch of Astro album reviews that I've done down there. If you want to check those out, you can do that too. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Thank you for sitting through what will probably be a very long video. And yeah, bye!